What is going on, YouTube people? Neo here, and today we are going to dive in to some more PSA data from our boy Gemrate over on IG. If you are not following Gemrate on IG, I will link to his Instagram down below. He has been parsing PSA pop report data for the last few months and has begun pumping out some very interesting numbers to all of our benefit. So, I did a video about his stuff last week. I put in a request. We were chatting back and forth about some stuff that I was curious about if PSA actually is grading harder. And he ran some numbers, so we actually have some data to back up some opinions one way or the other. And then I also want to touch on PSA's acquisition of WATA that went down yesterday, the video game grading company. Say that 10 times fast. So before we dive in, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below, and go check out Gemrate on IG once you are done watching this video. All that being said, let's dive into some numbers. All right, so what did I ask him for? We were going back and forth, and I said, I am curious, are they actually grading harder over the last couple months? And I said, it would be interesting to see like basketball data Gemrates over the last 5 months. He's been tracking since February. So he pulled Prism, Mosaic, Optic, Chronicles, and Select. And this is all 2019 product, not 2020. Because most of the 2020 stuff was just hitting right as PSA shut down. So there's just not enough data points. On the charts and graphs that you see on the screen, sorry, this is about as big as I can make them and still maintain clarity. On the left-hand side, you have Prism, then you have Mosaic, then Optic, then Chronicles, and then Select on the right. Left to right is the months as we move through them. However, on this page, the far left column is the cumulative score up until that point. February 1st is when he started tracking data. So that was the gem rate on those sets for all the months up until February 1st. So that's going to skew, according to him, that is a little bit skewed data because it will skew a little bit higher because, just the way that you're factoring in, you're pulling a bunch of months worth of data and averaging it together. And also you have to assume that early on, only the best cards were being submitted, especially in the more expensive tiers. And then as you get later in the product life cycle and the cheaper tiers, the more fringe stuff starts to get graded. So, take that front number for what it's worth, but it's an interesting starting point at least. But the orange number is February, and then we move left to right from there. February, March, April, May, and June are the green and light blue columns. And what you immediately see is May and June, the gem rates drop across the board. May and June in Prism is 45% on the nose, and then so on and so forth across. You could see it visually that clearly the gem rate drops as we move throughout the months. Now, you can get your tinfoil hat on and say, told you so, PSA is grading tougher. Or you could take PSA's stance and say, hey, we've graded a lot of this stuff already. We're pretty sure you guys just aren't sending us as nice as stuff. It's getting towards the bottom of the barrel here on this 2019 product life cycle, and you're sending us just cards that you probably wouldn't have in the past because you were just sending us everything because prices were increasing and slab values were so high, you wanted to get them to us as fast as possible. Okay? So I guess the key question is here is, are you taking the tinfoil hat approach, or are you taking the, PSA side that's saying, hey, send us better cards. You're sending us the end of the 2019 stuff and it's in rougher shape. So my guess, I'm going to go with probably a little bit in the middle. They probably are grading differently / harder because they've hired a bunch of people, changed some processes around. Nat Turner's group took over. I'm sure policies and procedures changed. And they are probably also right. It is getting pretty late. 2019 Prism has been out for quite a while now. They are probably starting to scrape towards the bottom of the barrel of well-centered, well-surfaced, good corners, clean edges cards that are being sent to them. They're getting more into the junk of the set, if you will. So I'm going to go with splitting the difference here and saying it's a little bit in the middle. The other thing that swung me on that it's probably a little bit in the middle is on basketball, it looks more damning. It is definitely like, you're crazy, Neo. They're 100% grading way tougher. Look at the data. And like I said, I agree. They are definitely grading differently / harder the last couple months to some degree. But I also agree with them. We probably are sending worse stuff. However, what swayed me back the other way is when you look at the football data, it is all over the place. It jumps around. The one big takeaway from this, and you can see it does get a little tougher, kind of, in May and June for football. And there's a mix of 19 and 20 product here. But when you pop over here and look at in the football, he averaged them out for me. So in February, it was 52% gem rate. This was across these 5 sets, which is 2020 Prism, 2019 Prism, 2020 Mosaic, 2019 Select. April was 48%. I'm sorry, March was 48%, April 49%, May 47%, June 48%. So when you average the 5 sets out, they really are pretty close month to month. Definitely closer than basketball is. Basketball, there's for sure a drop in May and June. The other big takeaway from this, and this backs up what a lot of people were saying, is that 2020 Prism football is a quality control nightmare, and this chart 100% backs that up. That is Prism football on the far left. The highest gem rate in a month is 37%. That is the lowest by far out of either sport. Nothing was lower than 40% on 2019 Prism football, but most of the stuff was high 40s or better on gem rate. And then here comes 2020 Prism football kicking the door in and going, not so fast, my friend. 31% in March for the gem rate. So 2020 Prism football, it has to be quality because you're not seeing numbers that severe on the other sets. Which also makes me think, they're grading at least relatively consistently, because everyone complained about 2020 football being a QC nightmare, whether it was centering or surface issues or roller marks or whatever. And the PSA numbers back that up. That is a disaster, 2020 football for PSA 10s. So do with that data what you will. I'm still not going crazy on 2020 base football because of this in PSA 10s, because there's still going to be a ton of it. So, and the football market is a little bit smaller than basketball. So a large pop count there is scarier. And I forget what I haven't checked Herbert and Burrow's pop in a while, but it is slowly creeping up. It's not astronomical yet, but I have a feeling there's a lot of that stuff either at PSA sitting or waiting to go to PSA. We'll see. So, those are the numbers. So what do you think? We looked at the 2 sports. Basketball looks a lot more damning than football does. Football looks kind of like how I thought it would look. It's a little all over the place. And when you average it out, it averages out to pretty much dead even. Basketball, that is not the case at all. It definitely skews as you get farther into May and June. Now, I don't think that they would just grade one particular sport harder. Maybe they would. I don't know. That seems really tinfoil hatty if we're going to head down that path. That all of a sudden they got the mandate from upon high to grade basketball way tougher or something like that. I don't know. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are they grading tougher? A little bit of both. Worse cards. We have the numbers now, at least the gem rate percentage. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it is what we have, and it's pretty good. And this is all public data. You just have to put the time and effort in to go get it on the pop reports, and that's what gem rate's doing for us. So, like I said, go give him a follow on IG if you're not already. So that's really all I have to say about that. The numbers are the numbers, and it does appear at least something is going on. Like I said, I'm going to put it a little bit in the middle, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Let's transition over here and talk about the WATA acquisition. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Let me switch screens here. So if you missed this one kind of snuck under the wire yesterday. I was going to do a separate video on it, but I don't know that it was. It's not super sports card related, but it's Collectors Universe related. So, Collectors Universe purchased WATA. For those not familiar with WATA, they grade video games. They are the PSA of graded video games in more ways than one. They command the most resale value by far, and they are backed up a million miles. So they have a lot of comparisons with PSA. Couple takeaways here. One, I'm going to guess eventually PSA probably gets them straightened out because it'll be an influx of money. And I think WATA is desperately in need of an influx of capital to be able to really ramp this up. PSA is definitely going full Walmart, Amazon. We're just going to buy it all and we're going to run the gambit. We have PSA grading cards now. They have a coin subdivision, I believe. And now they have the leader in graded video games. So the leader in graded cards. Now they have the leader in video games. The only big things that they are missing are maybe action figures and toys, which I am not sure who the dominant player was. I thought WATA did grade action figures, but I might be wrong on that. I don't think that they do. I initially thought that they did, but I wasn't able to confirm that on their website. And, you know, they recently picked up Golden Auctions, so they have the large auction house under the same group. You know, what's next? I was speculating today in a group chat that, you know, do they go for the comic book market now? The interesting thing over there is there really isn't a great acquisition target. CGC, who just got purchased, is the king. They are the dominant force in comic book grading. CBCS is second, but they are a distant second, like way down the line second. And they're owned by Beckett or affiliated with Beckett. So it's not like, you know, you're just going to go buy their comic book division out. I guess you could do that, but I can't see Beckett selling the PSA like that. And then next in line is PGX, and they are basically the GMA of comic books. They are not taken very seriously. No one grades with them, and pretty much everyone makes fun of people that do grade with them. It's a little harsh, but they're not taken seriously at all. Their slabs are ridiculously easy to crack open. They're a mess. They're an absolute mess. So they would, in my opinion, they would not be a good acquisition target just based off name. So if they wanted to enter the comic book market, I almost feel like they'd have to start a company up on their own or start a new division of PSA that specializes in grading comic books. Because that's really the only stone that's left. You know, they have trading cards on lockdown. They have video games on lockdown now. There is not even a close competitor to WATA, I don't believe. And if you think graded video games aren't taken seriously, there was just 2 record sales last week. A Zelda sold for 870,000 and Mario sold for 1.56 million. So, yeah, there's big money in that space. So we'll see where that goes from there. This is also, to me, a clear indication that PSA wants to be, whether it's, I should say, Collectors Universe, wants to be your one-stop shopping for all things grading. If they can slab it and slap a grade on it, they want you to be their first choice. So spinning forward, I kind of hinted this in the video the other day. I think once they clear their sports card backlog, and it could be a while, it could be a year, who knows? I have completely, I don't know if flipped on this is the right word, but Slewfoot in the SCI Discord made a very compelling case. And after listening to him and thinking about it more, I 100% agree with him. I believe we absolutely see a cheap value option at some point in time within the next year. When I say cheap, I'm saying $15 to $20. It might take 8 to 12 months to get your cards back at that level, but I think once PSA is caught up, fully operational, and doesn't have a backlog anymore, that they are going to look to aggressively wipe out the rest of the grading market. Or dominate, I guess, more so. And if that means price undercutting people or doing whatever it takes, because even at $15, I mean, they graded cards at $15 a card forever and made a profit on it. They were grading at like $10 a card and made a massive profit on it. So yeah, their costs have increased, but if you could work through cards that much faster, even if you're making less per card, or maybe you're even breaking even on it, that might be worth it if you're literally choking out your competition. You know, if PSA had a bulk submission service that was $15 a card, I don't, for random stuff, even with an 8-month turnaround time, I don't know a lot of people that would still use the competition other than the people that PSA made mad. So, you know, my famous quote around here is, for people that think I'm just strictly a PSA fanboy, is that all these guys kind of suck to some degree or another. None of these grading companies are great. They all have warts you could pick apart. Um, the only reason I go with PSA all the time is because their stuff sells for the most. It's as simple as that. It's a math equation. I've said this plenty of times on stream. If BGS suddenly sold for the most, I would probably buy most of my cards in BGS. If SGC sold for the most, I would start, you know, using SGC comps for everything, or BGS 9.5 or CSG or HGA or whatever. You know, you're going to talk about the grading company that has the most cards being transacted, which is PSA, because it gives you the most data points to see trend lines. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think eventually, it could be a year, that PSA rolls out very aggressive pricing and just says, all right, here you go, 15, $20 a card, send them in. You'll get them back 6-8 months. We could grade 1.5 million cards a month and just keep them coming, boys and girls. We'll just churn them out. We gotcha. Keep sending them. Because I think that's what they want to get to. I really do. The more I think about it, you don't put in that much money to infrastructure and hiring and all this other stuff to get caught up, and then when you're caught up, you don't want the business. So when they get caught up, they're going to want people to send them cards, and they're going to want, if someone pulls a card and they want it graded, they want your first thought to be PSA, and they want to have the pricing available to accommodate that. That's what I think. That's my take on it. I really think that's going to be the case. And if they have to go, you know, I compared them to Walmart and Amazon on, I think, Discord or maybe my last video. I don't know, where they come into town and shut all the mom and pop places up. That's, I think, exactly what they're going to try to do. So I don't know. Like them, hate them, you know, whatever. I get it, but they are the dominant player. You cannot say that they're not. Their stuff resales everybody else, and it's not even close in most regards. So yes, SGC kind of has vintage on lockdown. They each have their own little niche market, but overall, PSA pulls the most resale value. Does it make sense to send everything to them right now? No. It still makes sense to use SGC in some cases. Each card has a home right now. But I think eventually PSA wants to get to the point where PSA is your only home for everything, and they will price accordingly. We're not there right now. It does not make sense to send every single card to PSA right now. It makes sense to send some stuff to SGC. So, sorry for the little rant there at the end, but just, once I get going, you never know where it's going to end. But that's all I got for you guys and girls today. So let me know what you think about the Gemrate data. Let me know what you think about the WATA acquisition and kind of the future of Collector's Universe. And who's next? You know, we talked about it before. Everyone's getting bought up. Like, who's the next target for this? So, I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.